Welcome to Conversations in the Coop. I'm your host, Trinity Director of Athletics, Drew Galbraith. My pleasure today to be joined by Felix Goldmann of the Trinity men's rowing team. Felix, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Well, Felix, you grew up in Freiburg, Germany, and eventually landed in the U.S. here as a college student. We'll get to all of that. We're also going to talk about your time on our rowing team, as well as a cross-country bicycle trip that you took across the United States. So lots to get to, but growing up in Germany, can you think of the first time when you either thought of coming to college in the United States or thought of studying in the United States or opportunities like that?
Yeah, actually, I never really thought about going to university outside of Germany. And then I went to a student exchange in 2018 in the US and first got a glimpse to like American high schools, to American college life. And it prompted me to go to an international school in Costa Rica.
For the end of high school?
For the last 2 years of high school, yes. And there I got introduced to American college life, and as it happens, the application dates in the US are actually way earlier than the ones in Europe. So I decided to apply to the US, and Trinity was one of the top schools that I wanted to apply to, and it just all worked out perfectly for admissions, and yeah.
So when you did that exchange program at high school, where were you? How long were you there?
I was in New York for a week, and then New Jersey for about 3 weeks with the host family. And I'm still in contact with the host family, so it's really nice to have basically a second family in the
Away from
States.
home.
Yeah, which is not a flight away.
And how many times had you been to the U.S. before that?
None. I've never left Europe before. Actually,
Okay.
so.
So you came, you did an exchange, this like a month-long program, and then that inspired you to spend 2 years in Costa Rica.
Yes.
What was that adjustment like, going from Germany to Spanish-speaking Costa Rica? Did you speak Spanish before you went?
I had no experience with Spanish. I learned English in high school and middle school, which was, well, middle school and high school English. So
Sure.
it's really broken. And I went to the exchange in Costa Rica with no fluidity in English whatsoever, and kind of adjusted as we went on. And I went to Costa Rica onto this campus with 72 different nations, which is just absurd. There's like 200 people on campus.
And
But-
what was the common language there?
We mainly spoke English because classes were taught in English, but people were just speaking dozens of different languages everywhere. I did learn Spanish there, so I do speak Spanish now. But
And during that time frame, did you get homesick? I mean, as a 16, 17-year-old, obviously, probably lots going through your head, but homesick, yay, nay, not so much?
I did at the beginning. Not particular to my home, like as in my family, but more culture sick, because it was just no common culture, and I think that's something that I learned how important it is to me to have like a certain culture I associate myself with. But not particular to my family, because they were always supporting me, and they were always giving me the backbone that I needed to like be away for 2 years.
And so then, as you're coming to that, the experience in Costa Rica, COVID hits. What was that like there? Did you have to go home to Germany then? What all happened then?
We were sent home in March of
Okay.
2020.
Yeah.
And had online class for 2 months, and after the summer the first wave kind of died down again, and we were able to go back to campus, but we're locked in campus with just like an enclosed campus for a year, so we barely ever left campus in the second year, and I couldn't see as much of the country, which Costa Rica is a beautiful country. Couldn't see as much as I wanted to.
So at what point in that experience were you kind of locking in on, I think I want to try some schools in the States and go through that application process?
That was about the time when we returned to campus.
Yeah.
I was already thinking about taking the SATs before that, but then most schools waived the requirements, and we couldn't take the SATs because all the testing sites were closed. So that was like kind of in the process of figuring out what's going on with COVID, figuring out if we can return to campus in Costa Rica, figuring out what I want to do after that year. And we had great admissions and university counselors that were just helping us find good schools like Trinity. And yeah, I enjoyed the application process actually.
So as you're going through that application process, because you're in Costa Rica, not visiting a lot of schools anyway, where were the places that you went, I guess beyond websites, to learn about schools and just maybe form your opinion of what might work for you?
Not much besides websites actually. I tried to have some input from, we had some visits on campus, so people,
Like admissions counselors came to your
admissions
school.
counselors came to school and presented the schools, and we had some input from that, but I only had a generic idea of what college in America would be like. And I came here for the first time in my freshman year, and that was the first time I saw campus. That was the first time I actually had a visual of what Trinity was like, and it was a really intriguing experience to just pretty much go blindly into this college life.
Talk about whether it was nerves or just nervous energy. Your host family brings you up from New Jersey up to see campus for the first time and move in. What was that? What was that ride like for you?
I was still jet lagged, so I was super tired coming up, and I remember it was like a 4 or 5 hour drive from New Jersey, and I realized we were in Hartford, but it was nothing like I expected, because Hartford has a lot of different like facets. So yeah, I I came up Summit Street, and was like, okay, on the left, this is my new home now. Let's settle.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a beautiful campus. So after seeing the downsides of Hartford, I think.
Yeah.
At first, I realized, okay, there's separation, and I felt home really quickly.
And so I'm assuming you came probably, excuse me, first for international student orientation.
Mm.
That was your first introduction? So you're here a little bit before other students. And what was your maybe expectation around the experience with rowing, with sport? Because you played a lot of different things growing up. So at what point, did that thought cross your mind about how competitive rowing would be here?
Yeah, it's actually I chose rowing because I was looking through the sports on the website, and I also had no real idea of how competitive college sports would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through the website and thought like, okay, I've heard of rowing before. I've never done it, but I've heard that it's a sport where you stay fit and like you stay athletic, and that was my main goal, because I was doing a lot of volleyball and ultimate frisbee and calisthenics and rugby before, and I really just wanted to stay in shape. So I contacted Kevin, our coach, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, you can walk on and try out. And I walked on. It was a really rough experience, because I really had no idea what I was getting into with practice 8 times a week and morning practices, and then how rigorous the competitive season actually would be. So yeah, I walked on, and it were a rough couple of weeks at the beginning, getting used to this kind of scheduling. But
so you're getting used to school in the U.S. I imagine at that point you were probably pretty comfortable with spoken English for sure.
yes,
but adjusting to a new place, and now you've signed up for the sport that, in good times and bad, 5:30 wake-ups. And we're going to go not only get up at 5:30, we're going to be really physically exerting ourselves for a couple hours every morning. Did you have any doubts in that first fall? Like, maybe I should have chosen a different sport?
yeah. The first fall was rough. I woke up every morning hoping to have an email the practice would be canceled. Just looking forward to breakfast, and not really wanting to go to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I questioned myself why I would do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any reason at the beginning, until my freshman spring, where everything kind of came together, where where I'd be placed in a boat and actually race, because my first fall I had no technique, I had no way of racing, really. I was just trying to get used to the boats and finding a way of yeah, going through practice unharmed, in a sense. And I think when I start something, I don't stop. And I just hate like giving up on something. So it was clear for me from the beginning, okay, I'm gonna do this at least until I get to a point where I can say, okay, I've tried enough. I now know how it works to a certain extent, and I don't want to do it anymore. But it never happened, so it went the other way, where I actually started to like it a lot.
So you're a dual major in Trinity, in mechanical engineering and physics.
Yes.
And both of those things apply in the sport of rowing. Just when you think about the physics of a stroke and all the engineering concepts that go into making a boat go fast in the water with eight different engines, if you will. So was there some influence, and it's a team historically that has a lot of members of the team who are in engineering, in some of the hard sciences. Was that helpful at all to say, oh, there's some of these older guys who are really into engineering, or really into some of these really challenging majors, and they can kind of do it, I can too?
Yeah, I actually like to keep myself busy, and seeing some of my junior and senior colleagues, or like not colleagues but teammates, was really, really helpful to understand. Okay, they wake up at 5:30 every morning. They go to bed at 9:30 or 10, and don't do homework until late night. It was just a way of understanding this is okay. I can manage that if I have good time management. That's what it all kind of boiled down to in my freshman year, that I needed to understand, okay, this is really rigorous, and I need to get my schedule straight to go through it, and it's been working really well.
All right, so now we're going to talk about this bike trip. So after your first year, you call one of your friends from high school in Costa Rica, and what's that? Tell me that phone conversation.
It was back home in summer break. I was just working a bit here and there, and making some extra money, trying to travel a bit over the summer. But overall, it was a rather blunt summer, and I wanted something exciting. So I called this friend of mine, and we both agreed that in our freshman year at college, at university, we didn't see much of the US at all. And I just had this thought running in my head for a couple of weeks at that point, that what if we were just to cross the States by bike? So we decided to cross America from west to east. The year after, which was last summer, and he was immediately on board, which was just unbelievable.
And where does he go to school?
Furman University.
Okay, down in South Carolina. Okay.
South Carolina, yeah. So he was on board right away, and we started planning which bikes to get, which gear we want to get, what route we want to take, which states we want to go through, what kind of cities we want to see, how long are we going to take, what pace.
Right.
There's so many things that you have to think about, and we were just holding onto that thought for the entire last year, that there's a mission that we have to go on, and we have to complete it, because we set ourselves that goal, like reaching Washington D.C. from San Francisco by bicycle, and that was the whole thing. And yeah, we were holding on to that thought over the last year, and then went on a trip in June.
So how long did it take you?
46 days without rest days, and we had 2 rest days, so 48 days in total.
And was that about what you set out to do, or did it take a little longer, a little shorter than you thought?
We shaved off 12 days in total.
Okay.
Over
where were those days that you just like? I'm assuming you just had some days where you just cranked and just went super hard to. Was it to get through something? Was it the flat Midwest?
Yeah, pretty much. We were planning on doing around 60 miles, 100K a day. So we were planning with approximately 60 days. But once we crossed the Rockies and reached the end of Colorado and Kansas, we just understood that this is, if we don't go fast now and do a lot of miles a day, this is gonna take forever, and we just wanted to leave the plains.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's the West is really exciting to bike through,
Right.
and you can still make a lot of meters, but it's a lot of elevation, and then you reach the flat plains of Kansas, and it's just nothing besides fields and grain, and maybe some silos or villages in the background, but nothing else. And at this point we just said, okay, we're gonna do a lot of century rides, which we did. I think we did like 6 or 7 century rides throughout the Midwest.
So best spots that you saw.
The one spot where I was in absolute awe was in Colorado, going down into Telluride, coming from a pass, going into Telluride, and then going up the Monarch Pass right after. That was pretty spectacular.
Utah, I mean, obviously there's nothing. There are mountain passes in the Alps in Europe, or Pyrenees, right? There's places, really nothing like Utah and the American Southwest in Europe.
No, it was absolutely mind blowing. Like the red canyons with just big rivers running through. You see like little creeks where there's life, because it's desert, but then there's a little canyon with flush greenery, and it's just unbelievable. So much vastness, and you're on your little bike trying to fight the winds and the heat, and you don't know where you're gonna sleep tonight, where the next water reservoir is that you can get water from. Utah was, just unbelievable.
So a mixture of some camping, some hostels, seeing some either Trinity friends or friends you knew from high school excursions, things like that. What was it like when you got to DC? Not only the feeling of getting there, but then like the first real bed that you got onto.
It was surreal. I couldn't like, it took me, okay, how do you say it? It took me weeks to understand what I had done, and for the first week or two that I was back in a normal bed, back in like a civilized room, I just, it felt way too normal, because I didn't understand what just happened in the last 7 weeks prior.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I arrived to DC completely done. The day before I had ridden my bike until I think 11 p.m. Couldn't find a spot to sleep.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to reach DC that day, and so I just went really early, powered through at the last day. Got stung by 2 bees on the very last day, but I reached the Lincoln Memorial, which was our set goal.
Yeah.
At that point, we were split up. We had split up in Missouri.
Okay.
Due to different routes that we wanted to take, and I wanted to see some more cities in the north, and he wanted to go to Kentucky and Virginia.
Sure.
So I reached DC, and a friend of mine, also from Trinity, who was doing an internship in DC, hosted me for that night, and then my host family actually came down.
Oh, that's awesome.
And welcomed me. So that's really cool.
So what are you gonna do for an encore this summer?
This summer I'm probably going to an internship back home in Germany for 2 months, and then travel a bit for the last month. So that's the plan.
So this thirst for seeing the world, whether you say it outward or it's who you are, but it's certainly you've packed a lot into your young life. So what are the next places you want to see in your world excursions?
There's definitely another bike trip that I want to do, or 2. One would be going down the Trans-American Divide,
down in South America.
The Great Divide,
Yeah.
from Canada to Mexico, along the Rockies. That's something I would really like to do. And then another one would be from northern France to Istanbul, through Europe. But these are only bike trips, so
Sure.
The rest, I don't know. Through the international experience that I have at this point, I have friends all over the world, which is strange and nice at the same time, because you never see your friends really unless you actively visit them. but when you visit them, you see amazing places. So I don't really have a plan where to go next. I want to return to Norway at some point. I just love Scandinavia. I was there 3 years ago, and yeah, it's a beautiful country. So that might be it.
And no, still a little ways away, but aerospace engineering, you think after, and what inspires you in that realm? Obviously, an arena that's going in lots of different directions right now.
Yeah, the inspiration, I actually don't know where it comes from. I just find it extremely fascinating that we can make things fly. Whether that is going fast or elegantly with a blimp or something. And it just really fascinates me that there's technology where we can lift off, and I think it's maybe like a search for freedom in a sense.
Well, Felix, you and your teammates have just gotten back on the water for the spring season, one that there's a lot of high hopes. So talk a little bit about, just in our kind of last few minutes together, the work that you put in off the water all winter to put yourself in a position to get back out and have a great spring season. I think a lot of people understand teams going down to a boathouse and getting on the water all fall, getting on the water spring. Talk about that grind in the winter and what goes on there.
Yeah, I think many people underestimate how much work actually goes in pre-season, because the winter determines how the spring goes. Your summer determines how your fall goes. And yeah, most of us actually this winter went ahead and did an extreme amount of work. We did several hours a day on the erg in our basements, very much so by ourselves. And we were there with our own thoughts, just having this goal in mind of going to national championships and getting as far as we can. And this hunger for success this year is greater than ever before, and I think we demonstrated that over the winter, where many guys put in the hours. The solitude over the winter just makes the team spirit in the spring so much stronger.
What's that transition like? You just said it yourself. You're putting in countless hours with yourself, and now, starting last weekend, you're in a boat with 7 other rowers and a coxswain. And so you have to go through kind of a mental shift there where you're hearing lots of different things, you're sensing lots of different things. How do you find that focus to stay within yourself?
I think it's extremely inspirational to see other people who have done a similar amount of work than you, to be in a boat with them, be in a team sport where team matters like no other sport, and to feel the power of the winter that we have produced and that we have gathered in one boat, like all collected, going forward, striving for the same goal. So yeah, it's extremely inspiring to be in a boat together and feel how much work people have done.
Well, Felix, I appreciate you sharing some of your adventures, and I'm hoping you do a trip this summer that makes you come back on next year and tell us how amazing it was.
Let's see how that goes, yeah.
Well, best of luck to you and your teammates this spring. That was Felix Goldmann. That'll do it for this conversation with Coop. For all the latest news, scores, and schedules, go to bantamsports.com. Follow us on social media at Bantam Sports. Until next time.